excited for this collector conversation this week. We are unlocking a brand new character here on the podcast. Been following his page for a while. Talked with Kevin last week, and I thought, you know what, let's just get Joaquin on live Dr. Evil Sports Cards on Instagram to talk about his collection. He also had just posted the complete Patrick Mahomes Gold Prizm Run, which I thought we need to talk about that. But without further ado, Joaquin, welcome. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm excellent, man. Looking forward to this. Can't wait.
Can I ask about the Instagram, the name, the origin? How did you come up with this name? I got to know.
So, Austin Powers has a villain, Doctor Evil. So early on in my days playing PlayStation, I tried to get Doctor Evil as a screen name to go online, and they shoot out not available Doctor Evil, live Doctor Evil is available. So I'm like, all right, I'll be live Doctor Evil. So that name is stuck, and that's my screen name on Xbox, PlayStation, all the games that I play. So
I love it.
That's the story.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot. I'm beginning to get a lot of nostalgia for Austin Powers. It seems like it's been forever since that's been released, but now and I'll see clips here and there on social media, and I'll tell myself, it's like, man, I need to go back and watch Austin Powers. I'm sure it's a lot funnier the older you get.
Yeah, and he's just he's both characters. I mean, he's excellent. Mike Myers is awesome. So yeah, that's how that stuck.
So I was going back and doing it like a scan of your page, and I saw that your first post was from 2021. I'm curious, like, does your first post on your Instagram page coincide with like your starting point in the hobby? Just want to maybe start with like what was going on with you and collecting in 2021 when you started your page.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'm going to get shit for this because nobody knows about this. But yeah, collected as a kid, played baseball all the way up to high school and collected for a bunch of years. Got a bunch of cards in binders right now that I probably need to go through. But the truth is how I got into Instagram is Rob Kardashian. Pulled a Nebula Tom Brady, and it was on video. And for some reason, I was on TMZ. I saw it, I played it, and I was like, oh my God, that must be one of the coolest feelings. And from there, that's kind of how I got back into it. Again, nobody knows that until today. And I started buying a bunch of cases and ripping and had fun, knowing that I'm going to probably lose. But when you hit that card, it's a phenomenal feeling. So that's why I got back into it, man. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to talk in a bit about hitting a card because that's very topical and one that a lot of people know about and wanted to get your perspective. But I always find that interesting. I'm glad you shared that because I think oftentimes we don't think about the reach of specific individuals talking about the hobby or ripping cards or sharing off their collection. And it's incredible that it was just one Rob Kardashian pull not only brought you in, but you've been here ever since. So I'm curious, like that happens a lot. I think people see someone post something and then they get sucked in, but then they fall off because they don't really understand or figure out what they're passionate about and eventually go move on to something else. Knowing that you started by seeing a Rob Kardashian pull, like what would you say are like maybe the building blocks or the things that have been in place with your hobby experience to like not only keep you here, but cause you to go to the national and do all of these things? Like, can you attribute it to anything specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I would say playing sports my whole life. I've got three brothers, and when we get together, it's literally talking about sports the whole time. So the nostalgia of the sports and the sports cards, of course, growing up collecting and thinking I had something big, and then finding out that hey, it's not so big. Yes, it's a Ken Griffey Jr. card, but I didn't really care that the corners were bent or that it wasn't centered. You know what I mean? So kind of learning that part of the hobby and then kind of just sticking with it because I love sports. I love sports cards. I love the hobby, and then building relationships, right? In the hobby is probably my favorite thing about it. It's awesome.
So when did you specifically start following Mahomes, and then what is it about Mahomes that draws you to collect him?
Right. So if you look at my page, I actually went, a little bit of everybody. Started, kind of just buying anybody I enjoyed, and then I really got heavy into Brady. Right. We're in a big group chat or a big chat room. Um, you know, that with Jason Sport Fish Collectibles and David Sports Cards got kind of invited me in, and that's where I met Kevin, to Captain 37, and then just started building that way with Brady, and then from there, what I thought was, why don't I find the next Brady, and that's kind of how it evolved, and probably the most exciting quarterback, right? One of the most exciting quarterbacks. Um, just lethal, man. He never gives up. He's always there at the end of the games, and it was. I mean, he's technically, I want to say he's my favorite player. Brady's there, but I would say Mahomes has kind of taken over as my favorite player now.
What has it been like collecting a player, an active player that has had, the volume of success Mahomes has had in such a short time? Like, have you, like, I don't know, the prices of his cards? Like, I know there's been some ups, there's been some downs. Like, how do you think about that and buying his key cards while he's an active player, while he's winning Super Bowls? Like, talk a little bit about that experience.
So, I've definitely played. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, definitely paid high on his cards, on certain cards, but on some, I would say I thought I got good deals on. Right, the market isn't dictated based off of Super Bowl wins. Obviously he went to Super Bowl, the prices, went down, 20%. I'm like, what? That's not supposed to happen. But for the most part, I think if you are a long-term collector, you're going to be okay. And for him, I think it's one of the safer plays, in my opinion. Um, I enjoy collecting him when the cards go down. I don't care. I don't panic. It's because I'm in it for the long haul, I believe, and I enjoy watching him. I enjoy collecting his cards. Um, it's awesome. He's fun to watch.
So I think the first Mahomes card I saw on your page was his 2016 Select XRC PSA 10 silver. Was that the first Mahomes you acquired, or just the first Mahomes that you posted? And maybe what was it about that card that helped kick off your journey?
Yeah. So first, definitely the first one, and I think I can't remember who told me, but someone told me that was one of his first rookie cards. So right then and there, I wanted it, and it's one of the best looking cards, right? Um, I want the gold one in that. It's a pop one, so we'll see what happens there. And then from there, I started doing the. If you look at the Optic, the whole run on the Optic, I met a guy at the airport, Fort Lauderdale Airport, and bought I think 6 of them from him right off the bat, and that's kind of where I started my Optic run. I'm actually missing 2. I'm too short right now. The green out of 5, and then the 101 gold vinyl.
Do you
So
know? Do you know? Do you know where either of those are?
I know where both of them are. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you see a card that you need or you want, are you like, what's your strategy? How do you handle that? Like, are you, trying to stay in front of them, try not to be too pushy, just making sure they know you still want it? Like, what's your mentality?
I would say I'm definitely aggressive. That's probably the best word I would say, but I am not um, pushy. If somebody doesn't want to sell, I'm not interested in trying to, you know, manipulate or yeah, I'm not into that. So, they know I'm there and they know I'm not anywhere near under comps or anything like that. Like I don't like wasting anybody's, time or money. So I'm there to try to make a deal. And I can tell you this, it's getting harder and harder. I mean, these Mahomes PC guys, they don't want to budge. I mean, It's tough.
What are you finding? Because I'm always curious about this with Mahomes, where you can look at card ladder and player indices and charts, and you can kind of see where stuff goes. And I'm always like mixed on like the Mahomes crowd, because I'm always trying to figure out, it's like, what percentage of these people are holding Mahomes cards just to get rid of it, to sell it for more, and what percentage of these transactions and everything that are going down are from real Mahomes collectors that want to keep these cards in their collections because they're playing the long game. Like, what has your observations been just navigating, buy, sell, trade Mahomes cards? Like, where do you think the market is right now? Are the key cards with collectors, or are they still kind of floating around?
Another good question. I would say mostly with PC guys at this point. I got a Gold Kaboom. I'm not sure if you saw that post. Mahomes Pop 2. Did not think I was going to get it. That's ADL Cards, Daniel. Got that at the National. And I'm getting DMs now, pretty much people saying they can't believe that he let that go. And I feel like going, I am aggressive. No. But yeah, I mean, I can show. Yeah, I'll show you real quick.
Oh, that's an awesome card.
All right.
How long had you been on trying to get that card?
I think no, I met him at the National for the first time. He was awesome,
Okay.
awesome guy, great guy, and a little bit back and forth. It's not really for sale. It's not really for sale. And then you talk numbers, and he's like, "Oh, okay, you're not messing around." And I'm like, "Hey, let's meet up." And we had a get together at the Acquire Cards, Jesse and Brock's event on Thursday. We met up there and we did the deal right then and there.
What do you, so a lot of these cards I would imagine that you're trying to pick up right now, they're in collectors collections. And we talk about this on the show a lot. Like, we say these cards are in our collections forever, but everything's got a price. And I don't want you to get into individual numbers or anything specifics like that. But like, when a card, especially of a caliber of the best player in football, Patrick Mahomes, is in someone's collection, obviously you need to like sweep them off their feet, but then you also need to make sure that you're, being reasonable with yourself on what you're offering. So like, what's that balance? Like, how have you played that game with that Gold Kaboom or any other cards?
I would say it's a balance for sure. I'll give you a good example. The 2017 Gold Prizm and the 2017 Gold Vinyl Prizm. I knew where they were at their peak. And then I always said, I write things down. I'm like, if it ever gets under this number, I'm going after it. They both got under that number, and I reached out and put a deal together with Alt, and the rest is history.
So those are like, when I think about your page and your collection, those two cards side by side those are the two that stand out to me. I'm a Prizm guy. I think you close your eyes and think about Mahomes rookie card. You think of the Prizm. Does anyone else have both of them like that?
No, not that I know of. No.
I've never seen it. So I think that's incredible. But so you mentioned Alt, but like, talk us through like the acquisition of those cards and how that all went down.
It was I was speaking to a rep, and I asked the rep to connect me to the head guy that makes the decision. And I believe he's out of Belize. He lives in Belize. And we spoke a couple times, went back and forth. And I think he was shocked how quick I was like, all right, let's do it. And I just knew once it got to a certain number, I was going to buy them both. And it was really smooth, really a lot smoother than I thought. And once I had them, I mean, like you said, they're both PC cards. Now, if somebody comes in and tries to offer 5 times, now it's a different, maybe it's a conversation, but I don't see me letting those go. And so let me piggyback off of that. So I've got those two. I knew I was done at that point, right? Those two, were a nice chunk of change. So I was done. We were on vacation in Costa Rica, me and the family, my little brother and his wife, we were watching the Panthers, and I put some money on the Panthers to win. Go Panthers, right? And Mike, Red Mike, I'm not sure if you know him, but good dude, had 2 gold vinyls, PSA 10s, and a 22 gold Prizm. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to get. And my wife goes, who's in the, she knows what I do with the cards. And she goes, hey, just know if you get that, you're not going to stop there. You're going to try to make the whole run. So just remember that. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do it. Well, watching the game, and I'm like, let me just see. So threw out a couple offers. We went back and forth. Done deal. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to make this run. And that was, it was good, but I knew I had to complete it. So from there, I found out Sean Victory Investments, who has been, spending a lot of time putting all his together, and reached out to him and asked if it was possible, because that's all I needed. I needed him to complete the rest. Now, mind you, I only collect PSA 10s, which is not a great thing. Buddy Jason, Sportfish, a card collector, said, hey, I just want to let you know, if you plan on doing PSA 10s, it's going to be very hard to complete this run. And that kind of changed my mind a little bit. I'm like, you know what? He's probably right. I'll be waiting here forever. And at that point, I think Sean had 2 or 3 10s, 2 9s, and 1 8, the 2018. He flew down to Fort Lauderdale. We went to lunch. We had tacos and put a deal together. And at that point, I had the whole run in my hands. Now, I have the whole run, and then I find out about these flashbacks, right? And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I have to go find a 23 PSA 10 gold flashback. And then I just a week ago had somebody come into my office for the 22 flashback gold. So technically it is all completed right now until, it has 24 just came out, or it's coming out, right?
It'll be a minute, I think,
right,
until it drops. You got some time.
I need that gold. But here's what's crazy. I've got the 2017 gold vinyl. I've got the 22 gold vinyl PSA 10 and the 23 gold vinyl PSA 10. I know where the 18, 19 are. And then Sean has the 2021.
I'll tell you what. So I saw flipping through Instagram, and I saw Sean, and I know Sean's such a big Mahomes fan, and shout out Sean. I know he's listening. And I was like, what's happening? Like, he's getting rid of those. And then I saw where they were going, and in the video, and I thought it was so cool, because I from one collector to another collector, and quite frankly, like, to me, one of the coolest things in the hobby is seeing a complete gold run in Prizm of someone, and for it to be a Mahomes is just next level. So I thought that was super cool. Do you know anybody else who has the full Mahomes gold Prizm run, or
That's
you
so
just you?
I as of right now, I think it's just me. I was the first to complete it, thanks to Sean, of course. But John Cardboard Preacher,
yes,
okay, is, I think, 1 away. He needs 1 more card, and I think he will complete that as well. Speaking of John, I know what made me a much bigger fan of Mahomes was that video of him with his mom. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Yep.
So just so touching. And then Mahomes to actually, I think he sent a heart or something, was just, I mean, come on, how do you not root for that guy? So it was just awesome. That took me over the top. So it was awesome.
So with the Mahomes, I guess you talked about the Brady chat, but like, do you have a group of, or connect with other people as passionate about collecting Mahomes cards as you? Is there like a community forming around him and his cards?
I'm sure there is, but I'm not in one. I would say there's probably 7 or 8 of there's people that I reach out to, 7 or 8 when I'm discussing Mahomes, but I'm not in a group chat for Mahomes. It's just Brady.
So are you, I know this could be a slippery slope and it's probably very dangerous, but you talk about the gold vinyl, but are you potentially eyeing the black finite at all? Are you going to get that crazy? Like
I, I
what are your
know
guardrails?
I know who has it.
I bet you do.
Yeah, it's that's the old price,
Yes.
and I met him for the first time at National.
So the
And
conversation's starting?
no. He's good. I think he's got. I mean, he's got some monster Mahomes cards. Um, but going back to Sean, Victory Investments, how cool is that? That was literally our first time meeting, right? Like that's what the hobby's about. We don't know each other. We're having lunch. We're eating tacos, and we do a deal. And then, you know, now we DM and we talk. It's just it's such a great feeling, how the hobby brings, the same minded people together. It's awesome.
How did you mention the plane, the tacos, the deal getting done? How did that, maybe let us in a little bit? How did that even start? Like, what was the exchange like to even make that all possible?
I believe it started me reaching out, and I don't know if he laughed at me. I think jokingly, like, I'm a Mahomes, I'm not getting rid of these. And, it was something like, hey, put something together, put something in writing, and let's see what happens. And he put something together really nice with the cards, and sent it to me in an email. I looked at it, and, usually, I'll be honest, I'd probably negotiate because I love doing that. That's what I do, for a living. And I didn't. I just said, let's go. Let's do it. You're happy. I'm happy. Let's go.
That I think this is a key insight, and I want to dig into it because I think we all slow things down and sometimes get lost in our need or desire to negotiate, and sometimes things fall off the table and deals don't get done. But you looked at this instance, and I would imagine in your head, you're like, this is a one of a kind scenario where I'm probably never going to get another shot like this. Plus, I'm looking at the numbers, and to me, this seems reasonable to me. So instead of potentially losing this deal, I'm just gonna make it happen. So maybe talk about like negotiation and like slowing deals down or just pushing them through, because I feel like we as a hobby get so stuck on like numbers and wanting to win each deal, but sometimes it's just you got to put your hands up and look at each deal case by case, and sometimes it's best just to say, "Yep, let's do this."
Yeah, I think that's important. Each deal is different, of course. I know one of my clients, he's a big car dealer, owns car dealerships, wanted a Pat Tillman card, the downtown with the American flag PSA 10. It's like, hey, can you find me one? I'm like, yeah, sure. The guy wanted 2,100. I asked him what he wanted to pay. He's like 1,900. Now, mind you, the guy owns car dealerships, right? I offered 1,900. He ended up selling it for 2,100 because a veteran came in and he sold it to him. And I'm like, what am I doing over $200 on a guy who makes, And so I told him this. He goes, what are you doing? I would have paid 2,100. I'm like, that's not what you told me. And so, listen, negotiation. I mean, I love it. It's fun, but I think more and more I'm realizing there's a time to do it and there's a time not to do it. The Patrick Mahomes Gold Kaboom, I wasn't getting it if the number wasn't met, and I knew that. So I now have one of two cards that are PSA 10s of him. First year, right?
Do you feel like we as collectors, when someone comes to us or we come to them and say, hey, we're interested in this card, and someone doesn't necessarily want to give them up, but makes it available? Like there are certain cards, whether they're one of ones, golds of key players, that it's impossible to get the opportunity to get these cards. But then once we have the opportunity to get these cards, we're kind of at the seller's discretion. We've talked about balancing act a little bit, but like what is the balancing act of like, I'm never going to get another shot at this, but also like I'm trying to be respectful and not beat him down on price because he might run away. Like how do you, what's the balancing act between those two things?
Yeah, I think if it's a PC card, right, you have to be aggressive or they're not going to pay attention to you. And if it's something that's for sale, you can definitely negotiate and, you know, you could probably get the card for less. I have the cards I feel that I'm going after right now are a lot of PC cards. Um, I don't, mind, right now paying an extra $1,000 for a card that I'm going to hold on for 5 years. I mean, so it's one of those things where I know if I'm going and talking to somebody, um, I'm going to be aggressive. And it's mainly because I want the card, right? If I'm reaching out, I want to close the deal. So, it is like you said, it's definitely a balance because you don't want to overpay for every card, right?
Uh,
So it's tough.
it is tough. I've learned that it's not straightforward, and there's a lot of gray area that you have to navigate. This has been fun, but I want to ask you, especially before we close this out. Like, we've talked a lot about Mahomes, but is there any other cards within your collection that are kind of near and dear to your heart that you want to mention or talk about?
Um, sure. I got these are two that I always said that I wanted to get when I became, that's kind of the standard, right?
Holding up the '86 Fleer Jordan PSA 10. How long have you branded yourself as a PSA 10 guy? So you got
Right.
to have the. How long have you had that one?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say probably a year, maybe 8 months, 6 months. Jordan, oh, he's gonna kill me. Jordan Collector 41, I believe. I think is his name. I flew to Vegas. I was going to the Super Bowl, and he met me in the airport. Did a deal and went to the Super Bowl, and then I wanted to match that up with that. Yeah,
Sticker.
and then it's actually the 30% thing.
Oh, that's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah. So those two cards, I always said, if I, where I want to get to in the collection, I definitely wanted those two. So, other than Jordan, Mahomes, and Brady, I've got some other cards, but it's nothing like what I'm kind of just Mahomes right now. If some crazy Brady's come up, I'll look at it, but just enjoy collecting Mahomes right now.
So before I let you get out of here, one theme that I picked up on just in hearing that too is like a lot of the deals of the key cards that you've talked about have been from in-person deals. And I think there's a big difference between buying online or through marketplaces to actually meeting someone face to face and, getting a deal done. Why do you think, based on your experience in buying all these key cards, the majority of these deals have been in person?
I think it's easier to relate to the person. I like face to face. It's what I do for a living. Close deals and negotiate, and it's something that I enjoy. I mean, I like meeting people. I believe that when I do that, it's easier for me to do that next deal with them, and they trust me. They trust that the money's good and that there's no games being played. So yeah, I actually do enjoy that. I think I'm up to 5 airplane deals. My wife's like, "What are you doing? You're Tennessee, and then you're coming back at night?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You are nuts." So yeah,
We need to outfit you with a. I know this might be maybe against the grain a little bit. We need to outfit you on your next one with a camera crew and see how it gets done in person. Let's follow you on the plane. Let's document the whole experience. I know somebody on YouTube's gonna watch that.
but what's funny is, I get off the plane in Vegas and I see him sitting there, and I look at him, he looks at me, and it's a great thing, but it's like, is that you? Are you that?
Yes.
Because I don't post pictures of myself, and he doesn't either, so we don't know what we look like. And sure enough, I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. So I sat down and, we did the deal.
That's amazing. You can follow him at one of my new favorite handles, especially now that I know the origin story. Live Dr. Evil Sports Cards. Joaquin, this was awesome. If you want to go see the Gold Prizm Run, just check out his page. Just an incredible collection. This was fun, and I'm looking forward to doing this again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Brett. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Stacking Slabs YouTube channel. If you like the collector conversations we're having here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn the alerts on, check out Stacking Slabs wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want more exclusive content from Stacking Slabs, make sure you join that Patreon group. Thank you and take care.